same problem here.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello.
Hello. There you go.
Hey, there we go.
On.
I'm Steve Joel, a Warhammer 40k nerd and radio host from New Zealand. In this series of podcasts, we meet the people who've changed the way we play or paint or read or consume 40k. Whatever it is you do in the hobby, I want you to meet the game changers.
I have no idea what's going on. Like, I've never tried this before, but I think we've got it working.
Yeah, I think we managed to get there. All right, rock and roll. Thanks, man. I appreciate you mucking around trying to get it sorted.
No worries, mate. Of course.
This is episode 11, in which we're going to meet a self-confessed fanboy of 40k, who's often accused of being a fanboy of 40k. We'll talk about that and what it's like to not do battle reports when everyone else is. So we'll just, what I'm going to do is just spend the next 40 minutes yarning about you.
Sure, yeah. If you find something interesting, sure. Yeah,
yeah well, we'll do our best. Now, before we start, though, I don't know if I, like in the chat, I don't know if I call you Valrak or if you've got...
Yeah, Valrak is fine. My real name's Sam, but if you want to call me Valrak.
This podcast is supported by the Frontline Gaming Network. Tickets for the Atlantic City Open are on sale right now. This is going to be huge, by the way. If you haven't already got your ticket, you'd better hurry. With safety guidelines and restrictions, the limited number will sell fast. Go to store.frontlinegaming.org or just follow the link in the show notes of this episode. Good luck. Get your tickets. Okay, time to meet a Chapter Master. He's been producing a variety of PC, lore, model release and rumours videos for nearly 8 years on YouTube and has amassed more than 130,000 subscribers and over 14,000 Twitter followers. He's held in the highest regard by some of the world's most popular content creators. His most popular video on the channel has over 1 million views, and I think I'm going to have to buy one of the t-shirts for sale on the channel as well. Chapter Master Valrak. How are you, sir? Thanks for joining us.
That was an amazing introduction. I think that's like the best introduction I've ever had in my life, so
well,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I think I should set up a business where I just walk around in front of people and introduce them, like, you know,
yeah,
like at a McDonald's or somewhere. Just here he is.
You've really hyped me up now. I think I could take on the world. That's it. At my feet.
I mentioned the T-shirt. I had a look at the, the swag that you've got available on the YouTube channel. That Space Wolves t-shirt. Actually, they're all very cool, but I play Space Wolves, so.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, that was the idea of some of my my subscribers. They're like, do some t-shirts, and I was like, what t-shirts do you want? They went, well, we're like Space Wolves, we're like Black Templars. I'll say, okay then. Yeah. I'll ask an artist, and we'll just mock them up. So,
Templars were my first army. That Templar t-shirt looks amazing too. Like I don't know who you did the designs, but they're really great.
So a close friend of mine. Yeah, he's a great artist.
Yeah, really. So listen, let's talk about you. Let's go back to July the 15th, 2013. The first video goes up on YouTube. It's you and some guys playing Exterminatus.
Yeah. Oh, that's going back. Yeah, that like. The whole reason I started this YouTube channel was actually not for the purposes of like Valrak. It was called Vigilomortis. It was a clan channel. Like we made a guild, and it was called Vigilomortis. It's basically Latin for Death Watch. I don't know. We were just trying to be cool guys and stuff. So we made that, and we just wanted to go around and play 40k games. And I was like, do you know what? I'll film it and put it on YouTube and see if anyone wants to get any views. And it just went on from there, really.
Yeah, so that was, 7 years ago. You put that, I think that actually the very first video is the intro to the channel, but
yeah,
then you do the video with Exterminatus, and you've got some other stuff going on there, and you're getting a handful of views for each one. So it really was at that time more of a passion project or just a hobby thing. Did you imagine that it would grow into something like it has?
It like my YouTube channel is like I don't do this for a main job. This is all passion for me. Like right. I'm very lucky enough to own my own business, so that is the first and foremost thing. It's like because I own my own business, I have a lot of time to do stuff like YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started it and we started to put videos up there, it was just messing around really. Like if you watch some of the first videos, it was just a bunch of friends getting together and playing some video games. And as you mentioned, there wasn't really a lot of views, and I think it kind of took off around a game called Eternal Crusade, because again, it was just messing around, and then it turned into more of like information videos, like which is the best loadouts for this game, and then patch updates, like what's changed in the game and stuff, and that got a lot of attention then, and I think it just went on from there, really.
Yeah. Well, actually, just sideline here, Adrian Prado's artwork that you use as your banner, that's amazing, isn't it? He's done such a good job.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He's actually working on a piece for me at the moment. If you've looked at my channel, like The Last Wall, that's like my hobby project.
Yeah.
And he's doing a massive, huge Last Wall art piece that's going to have like a number of chapters from like the Sons of Dawn and stuff, and I'm going to put it on my back wall. He's a really close friend of mine as well, but he's an absolutely fantastic artist. Like some of the stuff he's made for 40k is mind blowing.
I feel like if anyone did artwork like that represented me in that way, that would be like, wow, that's cool, man. And that's that's what it's all about, and what we do in the hobby, and in also in what you're presenting. It's because it's cool. We like the game because the figures are cool and the games are cool. It's just all about cool, right?
That's it. I always say to people, it's all about the rule of cool. Like when you build your armies, just build them the way you want to build them, because at the end of the day, 99% of the time, it's you that's going to be looking at them. So you just want to make something that's cool for you. And now this is what I'm doing a part of my hobby project, and just making it cool for me.
I'm a player that likes to go to tournaments. I like to compete. But the first piece of advice the G-Dub staff gave me here in our local store was, look, by the time you catch up to what's meta with the prices we pay in New Zealand, by the time you catch up to what's meta, it won't be meta anymore. So you go with what's cool, what you like. Armies will come in and out of fashion, and it's really got to be about what you value the most, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely.
And then you had a podcast as well, right? So you did, which also features in the early days on your YouTube channel. You started this podcast.
That was more aimed at that game Eternal Crusade when that was coming out, like in development. So me and a couple of friends from the clan just like, hey, should we just talk about it and like our hopes and wishes for the game, and then that turned into more talk about the lore and everything. And again, it's just a bunch of guys sitting down really just talking what they love about 40k, and so I enjoyed that.
You got into the whole thing because of a passion for PC gaming, and obviously you played tabletop 40k, but did that come later? Was it PC first, then tabletop, or all about the same time?
I've always been like my initial introduction to 40k was the models, but I didn't know it was Warhammer. Like I was always very passionate about building models. Like I used to build like Lancaster bombers and Spitfires, my family used to buy me those type of models. And then one day, my uncle, for my birthday, I think I was around 10 or 11, he bought me an Orc box set from Games Workshop. Now I didn't know what the Orcs were or anything. I just thought, oh, these cool little monsters, and they got trucks and bikes and stuff. So I put them all together, and then a friend of mine came around. He was like, wow, these are amazing. So he went back to his mum and he said, hey, can you go and get me a box of these? So she went to Games Workshop. I didn't even know Games Workshop existed. So she went to the shop in the town and she brought him Space Marines. So when I went around to his house, I was like, oh my God, they come in humans and like Marines and stuff. So then I got my mum to go out and to get the Space Marines. And then, that was it. It was like, I kind of fell off building the models through high school, but I always stuck with the lore because the lore has always been a huge thing for me. But I really more or less got back into like tabletop, like proper building armies and everything like that at the start of 8th edition. Like I started at the end of 7th, but with all the rumors coming out, right, 8th edition was on the horizon. I was like, well, there's no point in me really building an army until I know what they're going to do for the next edition. So I just left it, and then I think it was like a month later they did announce 8th edition, and ever since 8th edition I've just been building, painting, and collecting.
You obviously study the lore and you've been a part of it for a while. For me, I only really was introduced to the game late 7th edition. So I came into the piece really late. And I want to say when 8th came in, I feel like the level of excitement and the way it was handled was amazing. Everybody and it also, the numbers jumped.
Yeah, it was a massive. Like I remember, like everyone who I knew who was into Warhammer, they didn't really collect it. They played the video games like Dawn of War and everything. But once 8th edition came out, every last person I knew went out and bought that Dark Imperium starter set, and they started to throw dice again. So that really told me, wow, this is the start of something big. And as we can see now, it's grown massively over these past 2 editions.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I wonder if, and I'd probably have to ask somebody who's been playing every edition, but I wonder if the hype around 8th and the way they handled it so well has actually ever been done before. Because I feel like 9th, there's a lot of excitement from a lot of people, but maybe there was some stumbling through 9th, and COVID hasn't helped, obviously. But
yeah, I think as well, like as you just mentioned, like the way they did it, because from the previous editions of Warhammer and the way they interacted with social media wasn't really there, but with 8th edition, it was like a new type of marketing tactic. Like we were actually speaking to people who were a part of Games Workshop. Like I still speak to people now who were part of Games Workshop on Twitter, Facebook, and I didn't really have that before or anything like that. So I think that whole type of media they brought into it really excelled that edition into the limelight, and it worked because so many people jumped on and played it. So well, look, back to you and your journey through this whole thing. The first few videos have views in the early hundreds, and then boom, 4 years ago you upload a video called Imperial Navy Plans Cinematic, and it goes nuts. What happened? It was like that was like an introduction to like a game I was playing at the time, and then people were just like, this is amazing. And then from that, it was more or less, I just started to play that game, and then things attached to that, and like speaking about the lore around that situation. And I was noticing that those type of videos, people were watching it more. There was getting more attraction. So I was like, okay, maybe this is the direction to go in. Like I was always wanted to play video games. I still do play video games, like when I stream and everything like that. But it seems that the people more or less wanted me to talk more than rather play video games. So that's like where most of my content has evolved into now, is more me talking rather than playing stuff.
The numbers on each video, the number of views, are you the kind of person that matters to? Do you kind of keep track of that, what's working and what's not, and mold the content accordingly, or are you just like, whatever?
No, I say this all the time. Like I really don't care if my video gets 100 views or 100,000 views. What I care about is the engagement with people. This is why I've like the content I do now is more on the engagement front, because I love talking Warhammer. So if I can talk to a broader audience about Warhammer, then that's something I'll try and make my content for. Like when I do my live streams and stuff. It's always just me sat in front of a webcam, just chillaxing and just talking 40k, because that's the thing I just love the most. I just love talking to other Warhammer fans, and then we all just start theorizing. What if they do this, then they do that, and everything. And that's it.
And interesting, because the very next question I have to ask is about engagement. Okay. When I'm looking at your channel compared to other channels with similar subscriber numbers, the engagement is massive. Like the number of comments that you get on every video, just backwards and forwards, it's incredible. Why do you think that is?
It's kind of a hard question. I think I don't do this like to like knock other channels down or anything, but I actually like to engage in the people in the comment sections.
Right.
Like some of the YouTube channels you'll find is that they don't really reply back to comments, where I enjoy doing that. I actually enjoy replying back to comments and questioning people and answering people, and not only just on YouTube. Like I literally get between 100 to 200 messages like over the 24 hours, and I'm doing my best to try and answer as many people as I can, just to to give them help, feedback and stuff, because it's just like new people coming into the hobby. Hey, what's the best army for me to play if I want to if I like shooting, and then I give them advice and stuff. And
Imperial Fist.
Yeah, that's it. It's just Sons of Dawn, Sons of Dawn, Sons of Dawn.
Every question related to what army, the answer is Imperial Fists. If it's
each
you.
Successive chapter, I have a tick list for each successive chapter which fits people.
Right, which shooting Imperial Fists, combat Black Templars.
Yeah,
sure.
That's it.
Right, so it's about engagement. Actually, interestingly, someone else who's done quite well, who has a similar attitude, is Lawrence at Tabletop Tactics. He's really great at answering emails, even though both of you are swamped with messages. It's very often about just making sure that people feel important, making sure that people feel that they're appreciated. They've gone to the trouble of subscribing and contacting. It's kind of nice to reach out. Yeah.
The way I vision it is, how would I like to be treated if I was asking someone from a big channel like a question?
Yeah.
So if I look at it, if they're taking the time out of their day to ask me something, then at least I can do is take a little bit of time out of my day to reply and help them out if I can.
Yeah. Now, you've already mentioned you've got a business, you've got other things you do, you have a day job. This is a passion project, a hobby. And like, if you don't want to go down this road, just tell me and we won't. But does it bring money, like enough money to pay the bills or pay for the channel? Do you at least get something back out of it financially?
Basically, the YouTube channel pays for my modeling. Like not like walking down the catwalk, but all my models and stuff like that. Yeah, like I'm very thankful. Like I have some great subscribers and members of the channel, and through their support, I actually just managed to buy a Stormbird. Like that was my my hobby goal. To be fair, like that is something I've always wanted to have from like since I set my eyes in it, and with their support, I was thankful to receive that. So yeah, massive shout out to all my subs, because making my dreams come true.
Yeah. And it must be real nice to be one of those people that, like we see Tabletop Titans or whoever else, they get the books or whatever in advance, and they get to talk about them, and they get to preview, and they get to do all this stuff on behalf of the fans. But it must be nice to have that kind of, to have that sway, if you like, or to have that support from GW at the other end.
Yeah, well, I actually don't get that. GW have no contact with me at all.
What?
I know a lot of people think there's a bit of a conspiracy theory. People think I actually work for Games Workshop and I'm like a secret Alpharius person, like dug in, and like this is like a broader marketing scheme because I'm so I'm such a fanboy of GW products and stuff like that. But yeah, they don't contact me at they've never sent me a message or anything. I think it's down to mostly because if something leaks online, I will talk about that leak, and I think maybe they don't like that kind of content. But I'm not the guy leaking it. I'm just talking about the leak.
Yeah, but they also want to make sure that if they send you stuff, you're not going to go straight on.
Yeah, the thing is that I have signed a lot of NDAs. Like as I was saying, I play a lot of video games, and a lot of 40K companies who make video games. I've signed a lot of NDAs, and if I sign an NDA, then I won't break it. But, yeah. I
feel like also if you were Alpharius, you'd be a lot cleverer about not just always being positive. And so this is a thing that comes up from time to time on Reddit or Twitter as well. I was going to go down this road a little later on, but you've mentioned it, so we'll do it. Is this being a fanboy, being positive? I've had this kind of thing thrown back at me as well, because I love this hobby and I want to celebrate it, and this is why I do this podcast, and it's why I play the game, because I enjoy it. But is there? Do you think it's first of all? Do you think it's a fair representation of you that you are a fanboy, and secondly, is that necessarily a bad thing?
I'm definitely a fanboy, and I don't see that as a bad thing. See, I think a lot of people muddy the water. I think people see it because you're a fanboy, it means you'll stick up for the company no matter what, and I think that's a wrong perception. Like, just because GW release a bunch of Space Marines and I lose my mind over it, doesn't mean then I won't question them on the prices for certain models. It's like if you go back on my channel, like some of my latest videos, I've been really questioning like the Prime Nexus box set and some of the other stuff that they've been releasing lately, like in terms of pricing, which I personally don't believe with. It doesn't mean that it's not a fantastic model or like a fantastic set, but you know, I think a lot of people muddy the water where just because you're a fanboy, it means you have to love GW with everything they do. Well, it's not. I love models. I'm mad about models. So when GW release those little plastic guys, I lose my mind.
Yeah, well, they're cool. I mean, and it's better and better. If you look at the old metal and then the resin and then early plastic, and what they're able to do now it's extraordinary, isn't it? The level of detail and just how cool they are.
It's absolutely fantastic, and this is one of the things I'm really looking forward to, because I'm a huge fan of Warhammer Fantasy. I'm a bigger fan of 40k, but Fantasy now, I'm thinking to myself, because when I look at AOS, like the AOS game, it doesn't really interest me that much, but I think the models are some of the best models I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So when I place like that fantasy type of setting and like what they can do with those type of like, you know, archers and, you know, spearmen and stuff, and I think if they bring that to the old world, like what can they make? Because I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar in that when I go into the local store, my friend Nathan, who runs the store, is a very big AOS player. He's always trying to get me over to that side, to the dark side. But I'm a 40k fan and I love it. And also my brain isn't big enough to cope with too many sets of rules. So, but the models, the AOS models are they're amazing.
They're amazing, amazing. Probably some of the best fantasy models I've ever seen on a tabletop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
I'm really looking for ways to steal some and use them as proxies in my Tyranid army. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to fit some of them in. And you now, have you ever flirted with, other than your first Orc box, have you ever flirted with Xenos armies, or are you just all the way Space Marines the whole time?
I'm more or less a full-on 100% Imperial player, but well, I say, but I'm a huge World Eater fan as well. Like with the lore of the World Eaters, I felt like their fall to chaos was very tragic. So I am waiting for, I don't know when this will happen, but I am waiting for Games Workshop to release new Berserkers for 40k. And I think when they do that, if they ever do that, then I'll definitely throw my ore in with some of the ruinous powers and make some. Well, I say bad guys, everyone's bad in 40k. I'll just throw my ore in with some World Eaters.
It's funny how often the question very often comes up if various different Facebook groups, right? Particularly Tau and I don't know everywhere. Are these the good guys? Which are the good guys? And the answer is always there are no good guys in this universe. That's it.
We're all as bad as each other. We're all in this together.
Yeah. When you first got into making videos on YouTube, who did you look to for inspiration?
Oh, that's a good one. There was a channel way back I used to watch religiously, and the channel was called Templar Crusade 01. And I don't know if you're aware of him or anything.
No.
He's actually stopped making videos. I still speak to him. I actually met him at some Warhammer event, and it was like, you know, like meeting someone like you've watched all your life. It's like, this is amazing. But he was a massive Black Templar fan. And when the Horus Heresy was just starting, do you remember like when Angron was released and that the whole hype about the Horus Heresy was actually happening?
Yeah.
Just before that, him and like the group of people that he had as friends were actually making their own Horus Heresy stuff. Like they were getting like all like the Mark II Marines, and they were doing like the Siege of Terror, and he was doing like vlogs, like, you know, how to paint Imperial fists, and he was like making Dawn's aircraft and everything like that. And I was just blown away. I was like, if I could ever have something like this, then I'd call it a success, because it's just amazing. And he engaged with his fans as well. That's what I really loved. Like he actually really engaged with his fan base, and that's where I really took a note out of that, because he was fantastic at doing it.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you meet someone at a 40k event that you're familiar with. I actually met Lawrence in London, and I was just like,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was so like we went out and had dinner. London's a long way away from me, so I made quite a big deal of going there and sort of got in touch with him, and we ended up going out for a couple of drinks and some dinner. But for me to see him in that environment, like he's a celebrity to me. You are a celebrity to people who follow your channel. And if it's funny if you go to a 40K event, you see someone, you're like, wow, that's Nick Nanavati or whoever, and you're like, that guy's a celebrity. But then out in the real world, like the people I know in my day-to-day life, no idea who that is.
Get out the way, stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's funny you can be so highly regarded, like you're Chapter Master Valrak, and yet with the people who you deal with in your company, they don't necessarily know that.
No, they have no idea they're speaking to a chapter master. They're just like, that's just
an
ordinary guy.
Don't you know who I am?
Don't they know I command 1,000 astartes? How dare they?
So, on a more serious note, the world's been going through a thing the last 12 months, and look, I'm not trying to make light of it, and I know that it hasn't really been good for anybody, but for the channel, has COVID been a good thing or a bad thing, do you think?
I have to say, like, last year was probably the best my channel has ever performed, but I don't initially put that down to COVID. I kind of think it's just because the way my channel's been growing over the past year. Like, I've never done like bat reps or anything like that, so that hasn't affected me or anything. If anything, the content has slowed down on the channel because of GW's releases, because my channel has kind of evolved again into more of a kind of a news channel kind of thing where I'm involving people, and of course with GW slowing down productions and everything that's going on from COVID, or Nurgos Play as I like to call it, then it's I haven't really been getting the articles or anything, and speaking about it, and doing theories about it or anything. That's why I'd probably say over the last, since the start of this year, I focused more just on doing more Space Marine content. And what I mean by that, like Space Marine lore and battles and stuff, and just working on my last wall a little bit more, and just trying to get more information out regards to stuff like that, really.
I do feel like a lot of content creators around 40K have had to really sort of step back with the slowed production schedule, and the fact there are no tournaments happening, particularly the bat rep guys have had to sort of sit back and go, well, holy crap, what do I do now? You were in a pretty solid spot. Yeah, definitely. Compared to a lot of others, right? But it still has meant maybe a subtle shift in the way you're doing things.
Yeah, well, some of my closest friends do bat rep channels, and they were like, I just can't get anyone around. Just cannot get anyone around at all because, of course, where I am in the part of England, I'm in the northwest, I'm in Manchester, and I think I've been locked down now for a year plus, because even though some of the country was still open, my region was in tier 3, which basically meant nearly like full on lockdown. And now we're in full on lockdown again. It's completely locked down. We can't do anything. Like I can't even go down to like my local gaming store and throw some dice or anything like that because of the restrictions that were in place. So yeah, I haven't done anything. Like I think I've only had one game in 9th edition, and I won that. So
undefeated. I saw that.
Yeah, undefeated. Yeah, that's the meme that's popped up now. Since I haven't been playing anyone, I'm technically the undefeated champion of a 9th edition. A lot of people want my head for that, so it should be fun.
I did a local charity boxing event a few years ago.
Okay.
And I won my fight, and I retired.
Great.
So I've had one fight, one win. And that's it. I'm out now. I quit while you're ahead, right? So I often.
Yeah, that's it.
A couple of weeks later, I was interviewing the New Zealand heavyweight boxing champion, and I said to him, my record's better than yours. I'm sitting at 100% there, brother. Anyway, I didn't say it to his face. It was over the phone.
Yeah. That's good.
Is there a thing with winters?
How did this start now?
I don't know. I couldn't find a beginning of it.
I actually, do you know what? It wasn't with Winters. It was with, do you know Luton09, the big lore channel on YouTube? He makes probably some of the best Warhammer content there is. I think he is the biggest 40K lore channel. And me and him are friends. Right. And he collects Ultramarines and I collect Imperial Fist. And there's always been a bit of tension, like, damn Ultramarines and damn Imperial Fist. We save you from the Iron Cage. Yeah, but what about Calf and stuff? We always throw that back. So just one day, out of just some fun of it, I just put up a video challenging him to a game. Like one of my members like put my head over like what's he called, Conor McGregor and stuff like that, and it was kind of like one of those shout outs like Conor McGregor does, but it was just my voice and stuff.
Yeah.
And Winters saw that, and I think Winters then replied to me like, Valrak, I'll call you out. So then I replied back to Winters, and then someone challenged Winters, and then it turned into like this whole on 40k channels just challenging everyone.
Yeah.
And from the ashes of that kind of thing, it's turned into this SN no retreat event, which was supposed to be happening in May, but of course with the restrictions, we can't do it. So it's been pushed back to November this year. Again, if restrictions allow us to do that. And there's a bunch of 40k tabletop channels going now, just because we all started calling each other out over YouTube, which was hilarious.
What's interesting is I saw this list. There's somebody on, I don't know, Reddit or somewhere, maybe 14DChan has put in like all this list of content creators, 40k content creators. And there's you and a whole bunch of others. Everybody's listed there. And then under Winters, it says, for some reason, it says he loathes Chapter Master Valrak. And then it doesn't say why. And so I've gone back through, in researching for this chat, I've gone back through everything. And Winters mentions your name to me when we had our chat. He mentioned your name as part of that big catch-up at SN Battle Report. Yeah. And there was no loathing. It seemed like it was perfectly fine.
I think it is sometimes people don't understand that it's a joke, and they may take it a bit too far. Like me and Winters get on, like we speak to each other on WhatsApp, like almost daily.
Right.
So yeah, we're friends. It's just that banter. It's all it is. It's just me saying I'm the undefeated champion, and he's like, all right, I'll take it off you. But you know, I've said if I do beat him, then I get to keep his hat. So that's basically my trophy in my room. Then I get to
uncrowning the king. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a thing on Twitter where you posted something about undefeated, and then somebody chimed in, defending Winters, and you had to say, "Look, it's all banter. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine."
Yeah. Some people do. Again, I think it's just the humor is lost on some people. I think sometimes the English humor, especially my humor, can be lost on a lot of people. But it's all fun. For anyone listening, it's all fun. We're all best friends.
So collaborations are kind of the order of the day. You mentioned about all the calling out with Hellstorm Wargaming and Winters and SN and everyone else. It feels like there are collaborations happening all over the place. Have you got anything in store over the next little while with any of the other guys?
Well, what I plan to do, I actually plan to film some tabletop content myself, but of course with COVID going on and stuff, like I've got like my table that I've semi-built, I've got some terrain that is all ready to go. I'm really just going to focus on like that, on the narrative side of it, because I love to tell stories. So like when I come to my tabletop battles, it'll be, it just won't be like just these big games just with like meta lists and stuff. Mine's got to be like the last stand of maybe like some Crimson Fist versus Orcs and really cool things like that. But I have asked some people to come down, like Winters, like Mikey from Hellstorm Wargaming. When I do fly over to Gibraltar, hopefully again in November, I'm going to film a bat rep over with Pardo and the SN team and stuff. So hopefully that'll work out as well.
Now they haven't. Pardo and his team haven't featured in 40k Game Changers yet, but isn't he a lovely guy, Stephen Pardo? He's just a fantastic man.
He's a fantastic. I think he's one of the greatest people in the 40k community. And I don't mean that to be nasty to anyone else. He's just you can talk to him about anything. He's so nice. He's great. Has a great attitude. On 40k and like where he wants to take his channel and stuff like that. Like the amount of work he puts, I actually feel sorry for him, because I sit here and I talk about absolute trash and I get like all the subs and the views, and he puts so much more effort into me and he doesn't really get that kind of recognition. And I keep telling people, go subscribe, go and follow him. This guy is amazing. Like the content he produces is fantastic.
And not that this is supposed to be about you, but just one more thing. He's just the amount of work that goes into the terrain and for when you go over and compete in Gibraltar, it's amazing. The standard of terrain is incredible.
Yeah, well, he's organized the event on this like anchored yacht, like this decommissioned yacht. And it looks fun. Like I actually used to visit Gibraltar a lot because my family used to live there, but I haven't been in like 15 plus years. So I'm really hoping to go back and just see what's changed and everything like that, because I do love the place. It's one of the greatest places I've ever been.
We've talked about the amount of engagement you get and the fact that you like to reply and you get a lot of messages. There are some knockers. I mean, you've got a lot of fans and a lot of supporters and a lot of people who help you out. There is some negative out there too, though, right? And anyone who gets too big is always going to have the knockers, for want of a better way of putting it. Do you bother with them? Do you try and reply? How do you handle that?
I think this is just a life lesson I learned when I was quite young. You know, not everyone's got to be your friend. Not everyone's got to get along with you. Not everyone's got to agree with you. And the thing is, it's what I always say to people: I'll just have to agree to disagree. Of course, there's some of the abusive messages out there, but those people are not worth your time. I think if you let people get on your nerves on the internet, I think it's one of those things. People on the internet can be the greatest person in the world, or they could be the most awful person in the world. And
right.
It's just engaging the right people. Like, I always stay positive and just engage in the positive people, because at the end of the day, it gives you a positive outlook. I just ignore those people. Like, if they don't like me, that's okay. You know, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
You can't please all of the people, right? And if you're engaging with people who are just wanting to have a conversation, or maybe challenging something you said from a factual standpoint, or whatever, that's one thing. But
that's fine. Yeah.
But people who just come out swinging for no reason, then that's different.
Yeah, again, those people are just not worth your time. I would always suggest that to people: just ignore them, just don't engage with them, because I think that really sets them off in a way. Like, he's engaged, man, I'm going to engage back. I just smile and wave and just carry on.
It's funny, isn't it? If you ever make something, you're a content creator or you're a broadcaster or whatever it is, if you bump into someone and they will never have any problem telling you that they don't watch what you do or listen to what you do. I have this so often where the people will say, what do you do? And I tell them I work on a radio station, and they say, I always listen to your opposition, and then name them. I'm like, no one ever does that if you work at a bank. They don't come out and go, I never go into your bank.
Yeah, I've had it where, like, a guy's come up to me, and my friend, like he said, my friend doesn't really like you. I said, well, you know, maybe one day your friend will wake up and he'll make the right decision. Yeah. And, you know, I actually banter off it. I have a laugh of it. Like, you know, it's if you come to me to try and, like, get me down, I'm not that kind of person. I'm just gonna laugh it off.
It's also not what they mean. What they mean is my friend doesn't really like the content you produce or doesn't watch that, and that's fine. But then coming out and saying my friend doesn't like you, it's like, well, we've never met, man. So what's going on?
I think a lot of people take it a bit too serious. For example, like you said about Winters, like some people, Winters isn't like Valrak. I think they just take it too serious in some ways, and they just don't take a step back and look at what this is. It's little toy soldiers that we paint in our own little way to make them look awesome, just to have a fun game with each other. That is it.
That's all it's supposed to be.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Before we wind up, is there anything you want to promote, talk about, anything that's coming up next that you want to plug or tell us about?
I'm building a Stormbird. Look out for that on the channel. That's going to be like my big project, going forward.
Awesome.
Can't wait to get that on the table.
Well, we can't wait to see it all happen. Hey, listen, thanks so much for your time. This has been a real fun chat, and I really appreciate it.
No problem, mate. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
A big thank you to Sam, a.k.a. Chapter Master Valrak. You can check his YouTube channel. There's a link in our show notes, or just Google it. And when you get a minute, have a look at all of the amazing stuff coming out around the Atlantic City Open. The venue is enormous and incredible, and tickets are on sale right now at Frontline Gaming. Next week, former world #1 Jim Vessel on how he came up with that Plague Bearers list. It's a real scoop, a big secret. No one's heard it before. Until then, I'm Steve Joel, and this has been 40K Game Changers.